Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Don't Breathe, which just premiered yesterday in theaters. And once, with my girlfriend for her birthday, actually. Hell of a birthday present, right? But, we're both, pretty into horror movies, and we're hearing quite a few good things about this one, so we decided to go see it. And neither of us regretted it, as far as I know. I was pretty excited to see this one even before all the positive reviews came out about it, which I'm very happy to see. Mainly because I am a fan of Stephen Lang, who plays the blind man in this movie. I've liked him on Terra Nova, Salem, which is a show I need to get more into at some point. He's done some good work, and I do support him as Cable. I think he'd be a good fit. But he is a very good actor. And he delivers quite the different performance in this one, but we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I do have to head off for work soon, though, however, so this review will probably be a bit more brief than I would normally like, but, I did want to get this out there, or at least recorded before I have to go to work for a little while. But yeah, so this is directed by Fede Alvarez, and he directed the Evil Dead remake, and I haven't seen that yet. I actually haven't even seen the original Evil Dead movies yet. I know that's pretty atrocious of me to tell you guys. But I just watched the original movie last night, which is weird, but fun in a certain way. I actually do look forward to seeing the remake. I've actually heard some positive things about it, and I can sort of see his directing style in this one from what I've seen in Evil Dead. And another little tie I do have to this movie is that the main female protagonist in this is Jane Levy, or Levy, and she played Mandy Malkovich in Shameless on Showtime during Season 1. The character was recast after Season 1, as to why I'm not sure, but I do really like her as an actress, and I think she did really well here as well, but again, we'll talk more about that in a few minutes, hopefully. The premise is simple. There's not a whole lot to explain about the plot. But basically, this group of friends, Rocky, Jane Levy's character, Alex, played by Dylan Minnette, who's an actor I'm also pretty familiar with. He was in that canceled NBC series Awake. He was in Goosebumps. He was in a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I believe. He was in Prisoners. He was actually in an episode of Nikita, which is really cool. I'm actually only a few months older than him, so he's a talented young actor. I like him quite a bit. So it's Rocky, Jane Levy, Alex, Dylan Minnette, and a character named Money, who is essentially Rocky's boyfriend, played by Dylan Zovatto. But he's kind of like he's involved into like this drug world, and stuff like that. He's kind of a prick. I'll just say it right there. The only time when you feel a little bit bad for him is when the blind man actually has him by the throat and he starts begging for his life. And even then, he just got a little bit of a, shred of, oh my god, this is happening for him. I don't feel completely good about it, but at the same time, he's kind of the guy you wanted to see get killed right away. And his death is actually shown in the trailer, and some people were, pissed about that, but it's so early on, I don't think it really spoils the movie, really. And did any of us really think he would survive anyway, But anyway, the premise is simple, Rocky, Alex, and Money, they break into this old guy's house. It's actually in Detroit, a more rundown area, and it was actually filmed in Detroit too, I think, which is pretty cool, because I live in Michigan. Not around that area, but still. Rocky, she is... she's our protagonist. We like Alex. Money is, whatever. And Stephen Lang's character is sort of in the middle somewhere, whether we're supposed to root for him or not, which I'll talk more about later. But Rocky, she has a pretty rundown life. She lives with, an alcoholic mother, just this one man coming in, one man coming out, as far as, her mother's relationships go. Really run down, and she has this little... brother, or little sister, actually, sister, named Diddy, and she's just planning to save up as much money as she possibly can to eventually get her and her sister out of there. Move to California is their dream. And that's her motivation for going around and breaking into houses and such. And it seems like they've been doing this for a while. They have it down to sort of like a routine type of thing. And how they're able to constantly do this without getting away, supposedly. I mean, without without getting caught, is because Alex is actually the son to this guy who owns this security alarm company, and so he's able to sort of decipher a lot of the systems and stuff like that, or have like certain equipment that can turn it on or turn it off depending on what they're trying to do. So at least there's a reason why they're so good at it, but then we also have a little love triangle, like I said, Rocky and Money, boyfriend, girlfriend, but you can tell Alex has a thing for Rocky. And you can tell they have more of a connection, but for some reason it's one of those cases where Rocky's with Money for whatever the reason, whatever it is. But yeah, so they go into this home, they hear it's going to be an easy thing, it's this old guy, sitting on I think it's like a $300,000 settlement or something like that. And this old guy, he doesn't have a name. We never hear his name, I don't think, anyway. But he's referred to as the blind man in the credits. Stephen Lang's character. We find out early on that he's an army veteran, but he's blind. And so they think, oh, he's blind? How much easier could this get? We just need to break into this guy's house, take it, and it'll be the last time we'll ever have to do it, right? But it turns out he's quite a bit more aware and capable than what they realized. And some of his backstory is that apparently this girl had actually ran over and killed his daughter a while ago. And so, of course, he got the money from that settlement. And we found out more about what actually happened after that later. But we'll talk a little more about that in a few minutes. So they break in and they're trying to find the money, and then you find out that Stephen Lang's character is essentially almost like a killer badass. And the way they shoot some of this, Stephen Lang does a really good job of showing emotion and expression. He has very few words in this movie too. I mean, towards the end he does say a little bit more, but within the first 40 minutes or an hour he only has a handful or two of words, and so he has to show a lot of expression through his face and his eyes. Despite him being blind, it's still, you can still see the emotion of it. And I think Stephen Lang delivered a really strong performance in this movie. And so a lot of the movie is essentially, Rocky, Alex, and Money, even though Money gets killed early on, so he doesn't really have to go through this. But it's essentially Rocky and Alex, trying to hide and sort of maneuver through this house as Stephen Lang's character is, locking doors and windows and trying to find them, just by, he has a really good sense of hearing now, don't breathe, obviously. So I really like the setup for this. It feels really isolated. Something happens and it's in this more rundown part of Detroit, so chances are no one's really going to come looking. And I really like this movie overall. I haven't said if I liked it or not yet, but I really enjoyed it. I'd say it met my expectations, give or take a little. I really did like it, though. It's definitely one of the best horror movies I've seen in quite a while. And what I really loved most about it, the movie itself anyway, was that it relied a lot on suspense, and suspense and intensity born through real build-up, real fear almost. Not through false jump scares or random bird flying through the window, as Chris Stuckman would say, but real panic built up through real suspense, genuine thrills. And I really like that, and it's something we don't see a lot in most horror movies nowadays. And now this isn't a complete horror movie either. Stephen Lang has described it as more of a thriller, he thinks of it as. And I can see that. I call it more of a thriller horror movie with I sort of agree with him. It's a thriller movie with a dollop of horror in it. And I like that, I think it really delivered, and it's really good to see any type of horror movie at all just rely on actual suspense instead of the gore or just generic jump scares all the time. I was really happy to see that, and I'm happy it's getting such great reviews. I really think it deserves it. Yeah, there's there's more details I could say about what happens in the movie. Like I said, Money's killed early on, and we also have this really great sequence in the basement. Hold on a second, I gotta get a drink. And they eventually get to this basement, and before this, throughout the movie, we're constantly debating who we're actually rooting for here, because we know Rocky's backstory, we know what she's trying to do and what she's trying to get out of. Dylan seems like a decent guy, especially compared to Money. But at the same time, we see, Stephen Lang's character, the blind man. We sympathize with him because he's he kind of appears to be the victim fighting back here, right? And he's cool. He seems still pretty badass. Like he has like this traumatic history and stuff of losing his daughter. So initially you think we'd probably kind of have to pull for him a little bit more, right? That's until we get to the basement. We see that he's actually been keeping the girl who ran over his daughter captive for the past, I don't know how long. I don't know if it's been a few weeks or a couple months or whatever. But she's down there, and find out that he's been keeping her there, and it's definitely twisted. That's overreaction, I'm guessing. But at the same time, it's understandable, and I can still kind of feel for him why he would be doing that. But what sort of happens that sort of brings the movie down just a little bit to me, is when we find out that he basically got her pregnant so he could give him a new daughter. So that's a little bit weird and creepy and sort of yeah. And we see him later on. He gets a hold of Rocky, and he has like this baster, I don't know what it is, but full of his semen essentially, and he wants to put it into her. So I don't know if we really needed that part of the movie. There's no over the top gore scenes or anything like that, but this is probably the most disgusting thing in the movie. But really though, what I didn't really like about it was, like I said, up until that point we're really debating who we're pulling for here, but once we see that he not only has this girl captive, but he did this to her and he wants to do this to Rocky, once the girl is actually shot and killed to his dread, I feel like it was a little bit too clear at that point, because once we know what he did to the girl. Alright, in a minute. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I do gotta leave for work. But once we found out what he did to this girl, it almost made it a little bit too clear. We're definitely pulling for Rocky to get out of there now. I almost wish it was just a case of him keeping her captive for a few months, instead of doing the other part. And in that sense, I think we would have kept on rooting for him a little bit more, or at least have the lines a little bit more blurred. I kind of wish it had stayed like that, but Alex actually ends up being killed. It was kind of sad to see him die, because you get the sense that he was actually a decent guy, and he did sort of root for him and Rocky together, and he ends up being shot just as they're about to get out. He was falsely killed at first, almost stabbed with these hedge clippers, but it stabbed Money's body instead. But then he is later shot and killed, unfortunately. Then we get the sequence of Rocky. She actually manages to get outside, and yes, the dog chases after her. He had a dog, by the way. Sorry, I'm kind of rushing some of this, but then there's a sequence of her trying to get away from the dog in the car. I felt like that was a little bit drawn out, but it was still pretty intense. The blind man shows up and takes her captive again, and I was kind of questioning how he found her. But then again, he has this great sense of hearing, and he's probably familiar with this rundown, more empty part of Detroit. He's been walking the dog around there for a while, probably. So I guess it makes sense. But she's able to eventually, stick the dog in the car, sort of keep him there. And then once he brings her back, she's able to break out and sort of knock him down into the basement with this crowbar type of thing, I guess. And yeah, she manages to sound the alarm so the police show up, and she manages to get away with the money. And then you see her later on, she made it with Diddy, she's getting out of the country, heading to California, and we see the blind man's in stable condition on the news, but that he only reported, to intruders, and that he didn't say anything about her or the money being taken or anything like that. And, it ends with Rocky and Diddy leaving. So you almost wonder why he did that. Maybe he had a more moment of self-realization to what he actually did, or maybe it was more of a leverage thing because Rocky could get some stuff out there about him. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. There's a lot more I could say about it. I would love to talk about it again at some point, but I do have to head off for work. But I really did love it. Really strong performances from Stephen Lang especially, but also Jane Levy and Dylan Minnette. I really liked it in the movie as well. I really want to see the Evil Dead remake now so I can see Jane Levy again in this type of thing. Not exactly, obviously, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I really highly recommend seeing this movie. It's one of the most suspenseful things I've seen in years. It's definitely a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the more simple, generic horror movies nowadays. Highly recommend seeing it. And yeah, it was a joy to watch in theaters and definitely worth buying on Blu-ray or DVD. So I'll catch you guys next time, most likely to look at the Strain Season 2 DVD. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe, and peace.